Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today we are talking about value and worth. Knowing our value. Now this statement, knowing your value, know your worth, these are things that we see them all the time. We see them everywhere on the internet. Like, we're always being told, know your value, know your worth. If you work, you're told, know your value and add tax, or know your worth and add tax. And boy, is that not important. Ooh, that is very important. So know your value and know your worth. So what does that mean? How does her society taught us to what, like, to view ourselves, or how has society taught us, or upbringing, how have these things affected the way we calculate our own value and worth? That's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into the video. Okay, so first of all, what is the meaning of the word value? So as usual, I think, like I said last time, I have a problem, right, with my fantastic ability to digress. Like, I digress, like I am the queen of digression. Okay, I have actually met people who are worse than me, so, but I'm somewhere in the top. So I have notes to keep me in check. Okay, see, I'm already digressing. So first of all, what is the meaning of the word value? The value is the worth, right? The worth that we place on either something or someone, right? So when we place a certain, worth on something, that becomes its value. When we hear this phrase that we're talking about, that we've, discussed so many, or we hear it all the time, know your worth, know your value. And if you happen to work, then know your worth or know your value and then add tax. But isn't that thing important? Ooh, that thing is so important. Bro, when you're told that a salary is something, please don't be thinking that that's the amount of money that's coming to your account. Please make room for tax, because, bro, tax is a nasty. Okay, so basically we're gonna discuss, like, how do we learn to, or how do we learn to assign value or worth to something? How has society taught us to assign value to ourselves, or to things, or to people, or whatever, right? So I think I want to talk about, like, three things that society is, that is used to define value, right? So the first one, I would say, is gender-based value, right? So for example, for girls, right? So the worth of a woman is defined very much, especially in this part of the world, is defined very much by her ability to be a home maker, in a sense, like to run a home, to cook, to clean, to run the house in general, make sure that everything in the house is fine and good and everything. And a woman's worth is very much tied to those things, right? I mean, yes, in this day and age, we have a lot of like, when a woman is independent, she can take care of herself financially, then that is, something that is considered, for sure, no lie. But really, there is so much value assigned to a being based on their gender. So if you are a woman and you can cook and you can clean and you can take care of babies and you can run the home, then your worth is very much extended by virtue of that, right? If you are a man, I don't know, I really try to think about the things that, according to society, the things that define a man's value, and I could only come up with his financial capacity. Like, as a man, according to society, so much of the value assigned to men is based on their ability to provide, or just the amount of money they have, simply put, right? So those kind of things, depending on your gender, or your gender, your value is assigned based on the roles that are assigned to certain genders. So as well as, the capacity that you have to to fulfill your role, then that increases your value, right? So that's one, gender-based value. Then there is career-based value. This one is very interesting. We all know, like, when we're growing up and we're asked, what do you want to be? And it's like, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, I want to be, all these big things, And it's because there is a certain value or certain worth that has been attached to certain kinds of careers, you know, more than others, right? So there's just a way in which society looks at certain kinds of careers and things as being, you know, kind of more important or having more value than others, right? So take, for example, you know, a typical example of, you know, how parents like to talk and brag about what their kids are doing. You know, my child's an engineer, mine's a doctor, mine is finishing his PhD in this, and mine is doing this. Like, that is something we all know, and it's normal, right? You know, especially when we are at family gatherings or whatever kind of situations, like, parents just feel this sense of, you know, it's like there is some value, you know, attached to a certain job that my child is doing, a certain worth that comes with what he is doing, right? So, you know, so somebody could be, you know, like the most loving, kind, sweet, patient, you know, carpenter, for example, or even chef or something, you know, waiter, you know, salesperson, business person maybe. But, you know, it may not carry as much worth. There is not so much weight put on these kinds of careers, you know. And so many times, you know, when I say I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm whatever I am, right? It's that thing that seems to increase my value. Even because of how society views me, I may end up feeling better about myself because of this career that I have chosen to go down, right? And if I am standing in line of all, you know, in line with people who are of all these, you know, like these professions, and then I am something that, you know, doesn't necessarily carry such a heavy name, then I may even feel like I am not necessarily that good, you know, like maybe I'm not doing so well because I don't have that title that's assigned to me, you know. So that's what I would feel is a career-based value, where we attach our own value, you know, to the careers that we are doing, or to, you know, the things that we do day to day to make money, right? And then the other thing, which I feel is very significantly undermined or underestimated, is like moral or virtue-based value, you know. And this is mainly tied to the qualities that we have as people, right? So, and this one I don't think we attach as much value to these things, you know. Like, if I am a patient person, and if I am kind, and if I am generous, I keep saying patient because patience is something that's like, I'm not the best at being patient. So, like, if I'm patient, and if I'm loving, and if I'm generous, and I'm kind, and I'm hardworking, I don't necessarily think about those things when I think about my value as a person, right? I just think about, you know, what am I doing with myself, you know, how far have I gotten in terms of my studies, and the work that I do, and the amount of money that I earn, which I forgot to mention earlier, which ties to the career thing, though it could be a bit separate, you know, like monetary based value, basically the amount of money you make. So your career versus, you know, career I think actually is separate, because career comes with the name, and then now there is the amount of money that you make. But, you know, because of how, you know, society has, you know, indoctrinated us, if I can say that, you know, the amount of money that you make very much, you know, has the capacity to define your value as a person. So yeah, I think actually I'll make them four. There is what was it? Gender-based value, career-based value, monetary value, and then virtue or moral-based value. So there's those four things, right? Now, of all of these, I feel like we can just divide these things just basically into two categories, which I think are extrinsic and intrinsic value, right? And when you really look at how, you know, we have structured society today, a lot of the way we calculate our value is very extrinsic. You know, it's based on what is applauded and recognized externally, right? So this, you know, this now brings factors such as our physical appearance, our social standing, our financial standing, our popularity on social media. This is the kind of, that's the kind of children, that's the kind of people we are bringing up today. That's the kind of standard that society is setting today of, you know, my value as a person is tied to what is seen by others extrinsically, how they see me doing financially, how they see me doing on a social level, how they see me doing on, in terms of my career and my education, so much extrinsic stuff, excuse me. Right, so when I sit down and I think of my own value, I think I'm not making so much money, so that means I'm not so valuable, or I don't have that many followers on social media, that means I'm not very valuable, or I'm not the prettiest person, I'm not the hottest person, and therefore my value, is kind of undermined because of these things. But is that how it should be? Is that really how we should calculate our worth or our value, So when I think about, what kind of things really should define my value as a person, and because, when we think about it, we are people. We're not things, we're people, right? So, like, the thing about things is that the validation that comes from things, or the worth actually that is put on things, is based on their external value, right? So, for example, I have this handbag, or this pair of shoes. Really, really great pair of shoes, right? And these shoes, I bought them at let's say $10 million. This is an example, please. If I had $10 million, I would not. I don't know, yeah, if I had $10 million. So, yeah, this is an example, right? So, assuming I had a shoe or a handbag worth $10 million, right? And the thing is, this bag that I have that is worth $10 million, nobody else on planet Earth, aside from me, knows that this bag, is worth $10,000, right? I meant dollars, by the way. Yeah, so nobody on this planet, knows that this bag that I have, or this pair of shoes that I have, is worth $10 million, right? So, considering I have that option where I can either have that bag or that pair of shoe that is worth $10,000, and nobody knows that that's the amount of that shoe, because it's not a popular bag. Like, literally nobody knows the value of that bag, the monetary value of that bag, but me. Okay, so there's that option, and then there is another bag that costs $5 million or five. Why do I keep changing these numbers? What were they saying? Thousand or were they saying thousand or million? Brr. Okay, so $5,000. So there's this bag that costs $5,000. Now, if I take this bag, assuming, I was to take this bag, it would be very evident to everybody around me that this bag is like a really expensive bag. Like, it's a known brand, it's something that's known. People know that it's a very expensive bag. Now, given the choice of those two bags, one that is very expensive but nobody knows about it, the other one that is less expensive but still expensive, and everybody knows about it because everybody knows, about this brand and everything, most people will choose which bag? I really do feel like, because of the world we're living in today, most people will choose the bag that is, that's 5 million, whatever, the less expensive bag, because people know about it, right? And that's the value of things. It's about how they are perceived by other people. If I have the most expensive bag in the room, or the most expensive shoe, or the most expensive car, but nobody knows, then the value of that bag or shoe or car is zero. It is lacking in value because people don't know, right? And that's the thing about, we kind of calculate, or we kind of use that same metric to assign value to people. That my value as a person needs to be extrinsic, needs to be what people can see outside of myself. If people look at me and they can't see my patience and my kindness and my lovingness and my hardworkingness, then I am not important because they can't see, right? And I don't think that's right? So I feel like for people, our validation, what makes me a valuable person or a worthy person, should not be, extrinsic factors. It should be intrinsic factors, And I feel like the world's marking scheme, the marking scheme that is used to define, the worth of people or the value of people, I feel like that marking scheme is wrong, right? The number of friends I have online, or how beautiful I am on the outside, or how much money I make, or how many people know me, or those kind of things. Those things, they're not the way that we should define our worth as people. And that is why social media, as great as it is in terms of, association and just a bunch of things, entertainment and that kind of stuff, it's good at those things, but it's also terrible when it comes to how it affects our self-worth, right? So, and then when you think about all these extrinsic or external things, many of them are not perpetual. They are things that are very much outside of our control, right? You can't really control so much about this extrinsic stuff, how beautiful you are, there's only so much you can do about those kind of things. I am digressing, I will come back to that point, basically most of the stuff that is external, it's not stuff that we really can control, right? So there's only so much you can change. You can be a millionaire today and then something happens and tomorrow you lose your money. You can be extremely beautiful today and then tomorrow somebody throws uji at your face and that's it, your beauty is gone. You can be millions of followers today and then tomorrow you post something and that's it, like everything changes, right? So if I was to compare the marking scheme that is used to define our value versus what I think should be used to define our value, this is what I would say. So instead of how many friends or followers do I have online being the fact that defines my value, how about how many people can I count as being my true friends? Truly, the kind of people who, when I am at the end of the day, I'm on my bed, it's just me, and and I'm having all these thoughts about my day and how I feel about me and stuff. The people who I can genuinely share those kind of thoughts with. People who, for example, my mom is sick or somebody in my family is sick and maybe I need to travel, the kind of person who I will call to tell, could you please sit in for me and check in on my mom. Or somebody who I am in trouble and I can call them and know that they will drop what they're doing and come and help me. How many of those kind of friends do I have? And conversely, how many people feel that way about me? How many people feel that they trust me enough, and view me genuinely as a true friend, right? So instead of thinking about how many followers I necessarily have online or how popular I am, it's about, how many true friends do I really have and how many people count me as being a true friend, right? And then instead of how much money do I make, do people know how much money I make? Am I able to drive a flashy car and live in this kind of place and own this kind of things so that people can know that I make money and they can view me a certain way? Instead of that, how about financially? Am I doing the best right now in my current situation, right? Is there something that I can improve? Is there anything that I can do to increase my earning potential? Is there something that I can do to increase my skill so that I am better at what I can do and then I can monetize it in some way, right? And not necessarily so that, the motivation or the end goal is not so that people can look at me and think, wow, she has all these things. It is so that I can look at myself and see that I truly am doing the best within my capacity to satisfy my needs financially or whatever needs really that I may have. But it's because we're talking about finances, like the things that I can do to satisfy my needs financially, right? So yeah, so instead of it being about how other people view me and my financial abilities, how do I view me and my financial abilities? Am I doing my best, right? The other thing maybe is instead of measuring up, how instead of asking myself or instead of using the world's marking scheme, of how do I measure up against, today's physical standards of beauty, right? So if I look at myself and ask myself, how do I measure up against the world standards of beauty, then, I'll be like, oh my days, I have the biggest forehead, I have the smallest this, and I have the biggest that, and, like, everything is just about me is a mess. But then, it's actually true, Instead of that, could it be, when it comes to my physical appearance, first of all, realizing that there's only so much that we can do. There's only so much that I can do to change the size of my forehead. There's only so much I can do, right? There's only so much I can do to change my height. The size of certain things cannot be changed because that is just the way they are. But then, of course, there's things that we can do, to improve how we look. these things that I can do to improve how I look, you know, eat better, be healthy, be active, work out, you know, those kind of things, right? So when I look at myself, it's not about how do I measure up to what has been set as the standard of beauty, you know, but am I doing my best within my capacity to always look good, to look presentable, to feel good, because man, that is important, like, because when you feel good, you look good, you know. So yeah, so instead of measuring against the metrics of the world, it's about me. Am I doing the best that I can to be physically, you know, to look my best physically, right? So yeah, I'm gonna stop there because I'm feeling tired of talking and I'm so thirsty. I'm so thirsty, so let me just stop there. Okay. Man. The next point. How do I, instead of, you know, the way the question might usually be, does the world view me as being a successful person, right? Or do people around me feel like I am successful, or do they feel, you know, successful could be, you know, socially, you know, financially, you know, just the things that matter out here, right? Instead of thinking that way, why not, you know, first of all ask, how do I define success? What is my definition of success? I mean, there is what has been drilled into us, you know, since we're kids, you know, that being successful is when you you know, you finish school, you get good grades, you get a good job. Oh, sorry, you go to campus, you get a degree or a master's or a PhD, and then you get a good job. You work that job. At some point in life, there's going to be so much pressure for you to get a husband or a wife. You do that. You get married. You get kids. Yeah, and you know, it goes on and on and on, and that's all well and good, you know. But is that definition of success good enough for me? Is that how I want to define my own success, right? When I am 26, 7, 8, 9 and not married as a girl, am I going to feel like a failure? Am I going to feel like there's something wrong with me? Am I going to start being, if I can use this word, desperate, because I feel that I am failing, which means there's something wrong with me because nobody has, you know, decided to marry me so far, you know? Do those stages and steps that have been set up, do they mean success for me as a person, as an individual? Do they define success, right? So, and then also, you know, when it comes to, so one, I think once we have decided as individuals, what is my definition of success, you know, where does happiness fall into my definition of success? Okay, I will come to that later, but the point is, instead of defining our success by, you know, what is, you know, the standard view out there, you know, do I feel like I am successful as a person? And the answer may not always be yes, you know, based on my own metrics, I may not feel, you know, completely successful. So if I do not feel successful, you know, am I on the way there? What can I do? What steps can I take for me to at least be on the path to what I define as success, you know? So this again is not a metric that, you know, applies to everybody, or everybody may not look at my definition of success and be like, yeah, that's success. But I may look at my definition of success and be like, yeah, I think I'm doing good. I think I am now 35, and when I look at where I am, I feel like I am, you know, on the road to success. I'm happy, I'm all those kind of things, right? Also, another thing, you know, another way that we measure, you know, our value is, do other people, when people see me or meet me or look at my social profile, you know, do they feel like I am a happy person? Do they look at me and think I am happy and I have everything together and my life is just put together and great, you know? So instead of that, the question is, am I happy? Not, you know, not considering what other people are seeing about me, how they see me, how they feel about me, how they view me, take away all that, and the question is, am I happy? When I go to sleep at night, when I am there in those last few minutes before I fall asleep, do I feel happy with myself? Do I feel content with the decisions that I made that day? Do I feel happy with the friends that I have? Yeah, and if and it doesn't have to be yes, it could be yes and it could be no, but the point is that the answer should be based on, do I feel this way, and not how do other people see me? Do they see me as being happy? Do they see me as, looking like I'm living my best life and looking like I'm doing the most? The point is, am I happy? Am I doing the most as per my standards, as per my, requirements? Yeah. So yeah, and then the other things, for example, which also intrinsic, and as you can see, the second part of these questions is all intrinsic. It's all, my value based on how I feel I should be, how well I feel I should do or I can do, or things that I am doing so far that are okay, and then others that I feel like I can do better. It's very intrinsic. It's not about how people view you. It's about, it starts with, or rather it should begin with, I would say, how I view myself in all these areas. Another thing is, what are my good qualities, right? I know, when we think about, I don't know, maybe how we are brought up, there's those who grow up always, like having, being encouraged and being told, how good they are, and, you're smart and you're beautiful, and, those constant things being told to you, very, very important, because it helps you to build your worth, and it helps you to attach your worth and your value as a person to the qualities that you have, right? So I may not be number 1 or number 5 in class, but I am smart, I am hardworking, I am doing my best, those kind of things. So thinking about my good qualities as a person, I think, is one very important way in which I should calculate my worth, right? So if I think that I am smart and I am funny and I am beautiful and I am kind and I am hardworking and all those things, then it makes me feel good about myself, right? It truly does increase my feeling of my own worth, right? And in that way, then I really can come to this cliche statement, know my worth, right? I come to know my worth not because somebody else tells me that's my worth, not because, I have created a facade of a life that defines my worth, which I know is not real, it's just projected for the cameras. It's truly, analyzing myself and looking at myself and asking myself all these questions about those things that we've just discussed, and deciding that that is my worth. I am worthy as a person, I am of value as a person, because of these things that I have come to see about myself, And also, aside from one of my good qualities, it's also what are some things about me that ain't so great. Things that I could work on, right? Because they're not the best, So like, there's good qualities, but there's also things that I know I need to work on, right? Yeah, and I feel like that kind of extrinsic view, or rather intrinsic look into ourselves and calculation about, how valuable or worthy we feel we are, that is the way, that like the questions that we've just asked, and being able to think about these questions and write them down and write down the answers to those questions, that is the way you calculate your worth. I feel like that is how we should calculate our worth as individuals and as people, and come to the right answer. The calculation comes to the right answer because we are not looking for other people to validate us and tell us we are worthy because of 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So yeah, I think that is my summary of knowing your worth as a person. I feel like we see that statement a lot. We see it on social media all the time. But, it's not just to tell yourself I am worthy. It is to define for yourself why you think you are worthy, you know, and that way you really come to know your worth. So it's a doing action. It takes work. It takes us doing something, looking at ourselves. It's actually, it's a verb, right? It's not just you are worthy, you are worth it, and it's true, you are, those are important, but knowing the why as to why you feel you're worthy is, you know, it adds so much weight to your feeling of worthiness. So yeah, on another session I want to discuss knowing our worth and how that affects our interactions with other people, whether it is friendships, colleagues, relatives, relationships, romantic relationships. So yeah, so for now I'm just gonna leave that there. Thank you for watching till the end. As usual, I am gifted in talking. I can talk for hours. So thank you for watching this, and I